Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Let the experiment begin. It's an experiment that's going to be very difficult to prove that it's working or not, but I'm going to give it a go. So what we've got is our new trays. I can't see what I'm doing here. I've got it like that. And I've cut the first slice off, and that made 4 pieces. So I've got 4 trays here with the matting in. The first thing to find out is how much water does it take to get it wet. There's one way to find out. Now I'm using RO water simply because it has no nutrients, therefore if there is any algae starting to form, it's going to struggle like hell. Because first of all it'll have pots on top, so it won't see any daylight, and the little bits in between the pots that will see a bit of daylight have got no nutrients, so they're going to struggle. So we shall see. Let's pour water on and see what happens. Now it's capillary matting, so yeah, that's what I was worried was going to happen. Oh no, it's soaking in relatively quickly. I was worried it was just going to sit on it because it's got like a coating on it or something. But in theory, now obviously once this is wet, as you can see it's starting to colour up now, which means it's soaking in. Once it's wet, providing I don't let it dry out, future wettings will just go straight into the material, whereas I mean at the moment I've got a puddle. So I'm just waiting for it to soak in. It seems to be getting there. I must admit it's not absorbing the water as well as I thought it might. I'm just watching the colours change. Now obviously the darker it gets, the more water it's holding. So I would think that's getting there now. And we have excess water. My theory is that once it's all dark, it's probably not going to absorb much more moisture. That's about as good as it's going to get, if you see what I mean. So I reckon that's about it. So that's a tray. Now surplus water we don't need in there, we can pour it into the next one. We'll leave some in there so that it can carry on soaking. One down there. So we've got some water going in this one now. I don't mind if I overfill now. I can see what's going on. But it does take a while for each tray to go dark. So it is taking a while to soak in initially. As I say, I'm sure that when I top this water up, you know, when it starts to look a bit like, providing I don't let it dry out, which will defeat the object of having it in the first place, so that would be silly, wouldn't it? No, we must keep it must stay damp at all times. And quite honestly, I've just thought, if there is a bit of excess water and there is a bit of a puddle, it doesn't actually matter, because I was a trifle worried about the pots, the feet on the pot sinking into the matting, and then the pot has access to the moisture and starts wicking, which I don't want. I don't want the water from the tray getting into the pots. And it suddenly dawned on me, nearly all of my pots that the plants are in are then stood in a black pot. So the pots that the plants are in have got feet, and then the black pots have got feet. So the actual base of the planted pot is well away from the water. I think we're getting there. 2. but it does, you know, the initial wetting does take a bit, and obviously it's not going to take anywhere near as much water to top it up, or I wouldn't think it would. I'm hoping that, because obviously this is RO water, the addition of the cymbidiums greatly increased the RO water because they're such big pots. And now we've got a load of peonies that also are quite heavy feeders and waterers once they get going. They're actually going to get watered and fed today. Those of you who saw the last video actually saw a peony with the start of what looked like a good root system, whereas the bulb that root system was on was in its infancy. It was nothing more than a shoot. It wasn't actually a flower bud or a flower or anything. It was just the start of the shoot that hopefully is going to grow on, you know, and become a bud, and then a flower, and then eventually a new bulb. And we start the cycle again. A bit more that one. I didn't put as much in, or it can't be soaking in more than the others. It's off the same roll. They're all the same. What I did was the base of the tray is around 33mm, and the cut off the roll that I got was 80mm across. So I cut 33mm off of the width of the roll and then cut that into 4, and that gave me my first 4 pieces. So as I said, I will get 12 pieces per metre, and I bought 2 metres. You can always buy some more. Postage was free. You can always get some more if I need it. Right, this was the first one we did. That's gone a nice uniform dark colour now, so that must be okay. Well, it needs some plants in it then, doesn't it? As you can see, the pot itself has got feet, and in this case they're quite large feet, yeah? And then the black pot has got a raised bottom. So the plants are going to be well away from the matting, so they're not going to wick. And then it's just a matter of arranging them, really. And quite honestly, providing we haven't got any diseased plants involved, then the close proximity of the plants, because obviously I want to get as many as possible per tray, will actually increase the humidity as well. Because they always say if you want to increase humidity around plants, form a group. Yeah? So you've only got 1 or 2 orchids, then get some ferns or something and cluster the plants together, and it will provide a lot more humidity. Now I can't go too mad because obviously they'll start shading each other. And I don't want them to suddenly become shaded. So some trays might only get 4 plants, but hopefully some plants that are not doing very well, like this one, might actually start growing. This is my Prince Charming, and it's never grown well for me. But maybe it will start now with this extra humidity. So we'll get that one in there. Remove that one. I think that one needs to go there. And that one can go there, and I reckon I can get one more on the corner there, and we pick another one that's not doing too well, and it won't take up too much room. Now this is actually my actual Ignea that I already had, that came from mixed Masdevallia. Now in the last week it's grown a new leaf, but it's a very poorly plant, but then it does have another new leaf coming, so it looks like it's coming into growth, and hopefully it will now recover with this extra humidity it's going to get. So that can go in there. Now I've just noticed that one of the Masdevallias I put in there hasn't got a black pot, so we'll sort that out. I really don't want the pots sitting on the matting, I want them raised up. It should have been in a black pot all along. It's just me getting lazy. Right, I reckon that's a reasonable tray full. I'm now going to move the plants away from the edge of the tray. The reason being that the evaporation will come up round the pots. If the pots are right up against the edge of the tray, there's not so much room. So something like that, and the tray can just go back on the shelf it came off of. And this shelf has got room for two, that's one, and strangely enough there's only one plant left, so they were quite spaced out. But now what we can do is start dipping into the next Masdevallia shelf, which is over here. And again, I've got another one with no black pot, so we'll go and find one. What else have we got up here then? Draculas can go in there as well. Is this one damp? Yes. Slightly damp. I was going to say, every time I look at this one I make sure it stays damp because it's in moss. That one I don't want in a black pot. Yes, so I'm going to leave it on its tray. So that can sit on there. That way, you know, if I stood that pot on the matting, tomorrow morning it'll be dripping wet. It'll be awful. So that can't happen. And then again, my other little Dracula is Dracula Bella. That's my seedling, which does have a new shoot coming. Yay! And again, that is it's growing in its pot. So I can't put that pot on the matting, so again I'll leave the tray on, sort of like that. And what else have we got over here? We've got one, another, let's put that one in there. That one needs a different black pot, so that pot's far too big. So take that one out. Coriacea. Don't know much about that one, and it hasn't done much growing, but it does have a new leaf at the moment. So maybe this extra humidity will pull it on a bit better. Now we can get that little Dracula up there in that space, so that this one can go here. That's quite a large pot. Now again, only 5 plants. I could get 6 if I had another small one, but I haven't. And I don't want to start mixing and matching too much, because it'll mess my watering routines up. You know, when the Masdevallias and Draculas get watered, they all get done unless any are still wet. If I've got lots of different plants on the trays, it'll mess me about, so we're not going to do that. So that one can now go over alongside that one. So two on that shelf alongside each other. That is quite a shady shelf there. It's got cotyledons above it, so yeah, it's quite a shady shelf there. It's next to the glass, so it's not dull, but yeah. So that's that. I end up with a lot of spare trays, haven't I? I've got stacks down here. You know, it's, I think over the years, things that come out and go into mounts. You know. What was I say? I just need somewhere to throw that off from outside because it's old water. A different size tray as well. Right, so that's that. Now, the next ones, there's 6 pots. I don't know whether they're all going to go in. We shall start and see how we get on. And these are the Miltoniopsis, and these are the sorts that should benefit greatly from this extra humidity. So that's her Alexander. We had a look at that yesterday in the Project Orchids video. And then depending on how this tray goes, this one just doesn't grow very well for me. It's actually a species, it's a named variety of Miltoniopsis phalaenopsis. Yes, you did hear me right. Now this one is supposed to like it a little bit warmer compared with the other species, but a lot shadier. So if I put this one there, then it brings it away from the glass, away from the window. The Her Alexander will be the one that's in the window. Yeah? And then this one will be sheltered by it. Right, and then we've got some pretty sickly things. In fact, I'm going to throw that away. I'm not going to put that in the tray because both of the new growths have rotted. Once they get that coloration, they're gone. So that can go in the bin. That'll help with space. Let's just have a look. Has that got a name? Oh god, that was a species as well. Draculas. Never mind. I've always said I don't do that well with these, as you can see. Now we've got one here that hasn't been repotted yet. Consequently, it's going to have to stay in its drip tray, otherwise it will be sat on the matting. So that can go in there like that. Right, there's 2 left, and I think they will go in that tray now that we've lost one. We've got this one. This is just a hybrid. It's been given a number so that I know which one's which in my notes. And it's actually growing quite a nice strong new growth, which is producing some roots. So a 2-bulb plant, which is often what you get, and a nice strong new growth. Yeah. So that is recovering from being purchased as a not too good plant, as they often are, with very poor roots. So as long as it grows some, it will recover. So that can go in there like that. And that leaves one little, not very good one, but again, you know, a weak plant, not very good at all, but it does have a nice new growth pushing on. As long as that root's okay, the plant itself will recover, and that's just a hybrid as well. So that's going to need a tiny little black pot. One like that, perhaps. Yeah, that'll do. Right, so that is all 5 of my Miltoniopsis on a single tray. They have a shelf to themselves, so we'll get those back. That's another tray done. And there's room for more plants on the end of that shelf, not necessarily in a tray. What else? Well, we only got one tray left before I have to start cutting up some more, and I definitely want this with the extra humidity on top of the extra humidity it's already getting. I don't want to lose this one. This is my 4th Ignea. I know we've got another little one over there, but this one is coming on quite nicely, which is why I bought it. It was a good plant to start with. And all the aerial roots, because they do tend to climb a little bit, Ignea, they produce shoots out the side that are slightly higher than the base of the plant, and then the roots are aerial, and they can dry out totally, you know, especially if you haven't got high humidity. So I want that one in the tray. And then what else can I put in there? Well, we've got another manky. Well, it's not a Masdevallia actually, it's a Draculas. This is a letter page and it will not grow. This came from Lynn. I think it's more of a dare than a gift. Anyway, if we get some extra humidity, maybe it'll do okay. Maybe it'll pull on. It did produce a new leaf some time ago and then it hasn't done anything since then. And it's one of those plants that has several bases. And this bit here is totally dead. And this is the only bit that's alive. It's pushed across the pot. So we'll see if that will start to grow now. And what I was thinking of is I could definitely put this in there. A little Paphiopedilum. And this won't grow. Well, let's put it this way. It grows new shoots and it flowers, but it won't grow roots. I've had this several years now and it still hasn't grown any roots. It's virtually a rootless plant. I think there's one root in there. So maybe some extra humidity will get that going a bit. And then I've got 2 other Paphiopedilums over here. I think we'll put this one in there. I mean this one's maturing a new growth at the moment that will probably flower, and this one does have roots. So I think we'll put that one in there. Trouble is with this one, it's got long dangly leaves. You'll have to hang over the edge like that. And that leaves one Paphiopedilum over here, over this side of the grow room, that's not actually in flower. The other 2 that are in flower are over on the display area. And it's a bit big to go in there. Especially as it hasn't been repotted yet, so it's in its original pot. And it needs doing. This desperately needs repotting, on the grounds that last time I watered, this pot's still heavy, and it still is a week and a half later. So it's not drying out, so the media's on its way out, so it needs repotting. We'll see if we can squeeze that in there. Yeah, there we go. Right, so that's another tray, and that can go back over where it's just come from. Behind you. Well, it can't go like that because the Masdevallia won't fit under the shelf, so it's going to have to turn round that way so that the Ignea is at the front, because it won't fit underneath the shelf above. Sort of like that. Right. Now that leaves just my Sarcochilus on the shelf that those other plants came off of. So that's a plant on its own shelf now, with nothing else on there. So by packing these in these trays, I'm also freeing up space as I go along, sort of thing. Anyway, that's the first 4 done. You get the idea. There's no point in filming anymore. Basically I'm going to go and cut another piece and cut that into 4, So that will give me 4 more trays. I'm not putting the cotyledons in trays. I still need to do the odont types, and there's quite a lot of them. While I'm doing it, we might have a little bit of a clear out because there's a couple in there that just won't grow. If you think about the little set that I call Derek's plants that came from the president of Bournemouth Orchid Society back when I was a member there, and he passed away, and he wanted all his plants to go to Orchid Society members. By the time I was allowed to come and choose some, the good stuff had gone basically. I was left with pretty rubbish plants. That was a long time ago. They're still rubbish plants. They've still done next to nothing. The only reason they're still here is the memory of a person, you know, that I got on well with and had a lot of time for. But the plants just aren't growing. They're just not moving. So, yes, we will sort out the odonts, and that will probably do for now. The peonies aren't going to go in a tray with matting, are they? Let me think. Actually they will. The peonies will go on matting, but they're going to be difficult because they're actually planted in black pots apart from one. So they'll have to stay in their drip trays. So I won't be able to get 6 in a tray. I'll probably only get 4. But that's okay, I've got the trays, I've got the matting. So yeah, so I shall do another 4 now while I'm at it. I now know how much water I'm using. I'm actually getting through a fair bit. I'll leave it at that for now. So you get the idea. You get the idea. Now I've got no way of telling whether this is working, apart from plants that haven't been doing too well that seem to perk up a bit. That's the only way I've got to tell that, you know, this theory is working. Otherwise I can't tell. So and that won't happen overnight. You know, that's going to take a while, especially for plants that aren't doing very well because they haven't got good root systems. You're not going to grow a root system overnight, are they? They need some growths to actually produce the new roots. So, as I said, it won't happen overnight, if it happens at all. We shall see. So, you get the idea, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, there was something else I was going to say. What was it? Oh yes, the bonsai video that I loaded on the other channel. It had a section in the middle that only had voice. There was no picture. I'll explain how that happened in case it ever happens on this channel. It's a bug in the actual video editing software. So for once, it's nothing to do with YouTube. If I could find a way to blame YouTube, I would, but I can't in this instance. And basically, my camera, when I film a long clip, the camera splits it into chunks to store on the SD card in the camera built in. And they're about 10 minutes long. So you've got a half an hour video. I've got 3 clips. And the video editing software joins them together nicely. You just butt one up against the other until a white line appears that says yes, that's in the right place. And then you don't see the join when it plays back. And depending on what the video clip is, if it's in here, I do 2 things. I always fade in and fade out. Now with something like the Project Orchids, there were 5 plants, there were 5 clips, and each one of those had to have a fade in and a fade out. Yeah? So that's an edit that I do, and if I've filmed in here, it's often a little bit dim because of the light level and everything. So there's another section of the software that allows me to brighten. Yeah, I can brighten clips up on a scale basically. So I usually do that as well, and somewhere there's a bug, some sort of combination of those edits, because there's another edit that I use sometimes. You click on a clip and you separate video from sound. and it literally splits it. So you've now got a clip, video clip with no sound, and sound with no video. Now obviously if I'm filming at a show or something, I usually do that to get rid of the original sound clip and then add music as a sound clip. Yeah, so I use that, and every now and again it does that to one of my clips and promptly deletes the video section. And it's normally in the middle of a video. Now normally I watch my videos back before I post them on YouTube for safety and in case there's any bleeps required. That's rare. I'd normally leave them in, blow it, you know. But yeah, this particular one was just me tidying up a tree. I didn't feel I had a need to watch it through. And typical, what they call sod's law, it was one of those that actually removed the video section from the clip, and it was the middle clip that it did it to. So that's how it happens. Under normal circumstances, I just remove the dodgy clip and pull the decent clip back in and re-edit it, and everything's fine. And I normally catch it before it gets on YouTube. I missed that one. So I did that. One of the Sunday chats had that happen to it a while back. And basically I'd posted it on YouTube to actually get it onto the Patreon site, and I was then posting the YouTube version. That's obviously the version that's monetized and you know, is set to public. And that was loading, and I thought, well, I'll actually watch the other one while it's loading, but I'd already loaded it. It was on the Patreon site, and then I realised there was a hole in it with no video. So I had to delete it off of YouTube and restart and do the whole thing again, including the one that was loading. That had to be stopped and delete the draft. I had to literally start again and go and re-edit the video and insert that clip back in. So it is a nuisance of a bug. There are several bugs in the latest version that are annoying. The other one that is annoying is the bit that I said where you butt two clips together and a white line appears saying yes, that's lined up nicely. Sometimes it doesn't appear. And so you end up crossing them over and it says, do you want to overwrite? No, I don't. And trying to get that, so basically it's another one of those, the offending clip gets deleted and reinserted, and then it works fine. These little bugs are just so annoying. And the other thing that I think is Google, the way Google handles tabs rather than the software. When my video's been edited and I'm happy with it like that, I have to export it, and what that does is it merges the whole thing into a single unit, a single file to the specifications that I say, that's the one that loads onto YouTube. Obviously we don't get lots of little bits on YouTube, we just get one continuous video with sound and everything. And it does it via a pop-up. So I click on export and a pop-up should appear with all the settings, and then I actually click accept. And every now and again that pop-up isn't there. But because the software has said, here's your pop-up, it basically takes the background out of focus. You can't click on it, it just beeps at you. So I actually have to go into Task Manager and abandon the task. Actually abandon it completely and then reload and come back in. These are flippin' annoying bugs considering I pay for this software. And you know me, I don't normally pay for software. But the old freebie version that I got basically got corrupt and couldn't get hold of it again. So yeah. Yeah, but these little things are annoying. You know, other people might use the software differently and haven't even noticed it. I mean, some cameras may do a continuous clip and not split them like mine does. Well, if it was a continuous clip, then you wouldn't know that lineup doesn't work sometimes. You'd never need it, you know, things like that. Anyway, that's enough waffle with techie stuff. Most of you don't know what the hell I'm on about. And I'll go back to, I'll see you next time, but that explains what went wrong with that bonsai video. and the individual elements that made the video I'd already deleted, so I couldn't go back and redo it, so it stands as it is, unfortunately. This one comment said, "Where have you gone?" And then a little while later, "Oh, there you are." That's obviously as the picture disappeared, but they carried on listening to it, and then suddenly the picture pops back up again. Techie bugs sent to try us. We always get found guilty. See you next time. Bye for now. Right, not scientific, because this is just a cheapo gadget, but nonetheless it does reasonably accurately show humidity. The general humidity in the grow room is 70%, and that's what it was when I picked this up. And what I did was I tucked it in there for half an hour, and it says 88 now. Now the sensors are inside those little grills, so even though that was sat on the bottom of the tray, that doesn't matter. It's not like it was stood in water, if you see what I mean. So obviously the air passes in through those little grills, and you know, there's some sort of diode or something in there. But basically that seems to have raised the humidity more than I was expecting, and that is down in between the pots. Obviously the farther away from the matting you go, the less that the humidity will start to disperse within the air. So yeah, I'm pleased that I believe the matting is having an effect, and the immediate air around the plants is more humid than the rest of the grow room, which is all I'm after. You know, I don't want the whole grow room to suddenly increase, because that'll affect plants that I don't want affected. So yeah, I think that'll do. Good stuff.